Margo, you have a tremendous life story and certainly have great respect for your parents and what they overcame. Sometimes people believe that we as Republicans don't know any poor people. And unfortunately, every time I go home, see my family, I walk into a neighborhood that is still mired in poverty. And what I hear in the neighborhoods when I go see my grandfather every week is not requests for more government assistance. It's a leg up. It's more training, more education.
Yeah.
Empowering the individual seems to be the solution. What's been your experience?
And first of all, I think that's why it's important, and it's so good that the Republican Party has candidates running for president like John Kasich, whose father was a mailman, and my father, who was a bartender, and others who worked for a living and struggled to provide for their families running for president. Because one thing is to read about these things, another is to live them, as John has, as I have, as you have, as Paul has as well in their lives. This is important. And let me just back up and say, John Kasich just described the things they're doing in the state. One of the things I hope we do at the federal government is find more ways to take all the money we spend on anti-poverty and turn them over to John Kasich and governors like that at the state level so that they can make a difference. Yeah, I think they probably support block granting, it sounds like, something like that.
So, Marco, you have you did this Flex Fund program, and so you've taken this issue on quite a bit, and one of the things that you did was to propose taking the strings at the federal level off and getting them back to the states so that we can have what you call flex funds. That's similar to the opportunity grant that we've made proposals for.
Because you saw the innovation.
Tell us how the flex fund works. Tell us how that
proposal works. Well, what it would do is it would take federal anti-poverty money and turn it over to states and local communities. The innovation's never going to come from the federal government. John, you've been involved at the state and the federal level. You know that only at the state level are you going to get, at the state and local level, are you get the kind of innovations that we see described here today in Ohio and in other states across the country.
By the way, Marco, when you went to college in the 70s, it's always good for a nice protest every once in a while.
I thought about handling them the way another candidate does, but I thought it would be, it's not my event. So, If I could take a step back for a moment and say that the reason why I love free enterprise is because it's the only economic model in the history of the world where you can make poor people richer without making rich people poorer. In essence, it allows everyone to move ahead.
Yeah,
okay?
I like that. Good.
So in a free enterprise economy, if there is poverty, it is because there has been an impediment to allowing free enterprise to work in people's lives. And we face a lot of those impediments in the 21st century, and that's what the block granting or the opportunity fund that you talked about, the flex fund that I've talked about, is designed to eliminate. For example, if you are a child born into a broken family, in an unstable home, in a dangerous neighborhood, in substandard housing, in a school that's failing in your community, where the people on the street corners are drug dealers or not good role models, you've got 6 strikes against you. Unless something dramatic happens to shake up that dynamic, statistics say you are going to struggle to get ahead. And so we need to be focusing our assistance on breaking that model.
Right.
And again, I don't think you're ever going to get that from the federal government. There is no way the federal government can design innovative and creative programs in a one-size-fits-all approach that fits the entire country. So I think it behooves us to say we care about poverty, and we care so much that we are going to make the funds available to those out there who know how to make a difference at the state and local level. And I got to tell you, the difference depends on where you are in life. We have in this country the problem I just described. We have non-traditional students. And you also talked about job training. This is an important part of it. People in their 20s and 30s, take the example of a single mother who makes $10 an hour as a receptionist, and she's raising 2 kids on her own. The only way she's ever going to get a raise,
you know,
the only way she's ever going to get, I'm going to keep talking through this
no,
stuff.
go for it.
The only way she's ever going to get a raise is if she goes back to school and acquires a degree that pays more than what she's able to do now.
Right.
What's the impediment to being able to do that now? The impediment is that school's too expensive, or school's during the day while she has to work. And so,
you know, so the question is, those of us who've done this are kind of used to this sort of thing. I know it's maybe jarring for the audience, but the question is then, what is the proper role of the federal government? Is the role of the federal government to respect individuals, respect communities, civil society, state, local government, and then just provide resources? That's what, when we talk with governors about block grants, when we talk with senators about getting resources back in the communities, but loosening the strings, that doesn't mean we care less. That doesn't mean we don't have ideas. That means what we're trying to do is liberate people who are there fighting poverty eye to eye, soul to soul, person to person, with the power to do it, to actually change and affect. And yes, there are resources. So is that basically what you're suggesting with your flexible grant?
Right.
Which is resources, yes, but command and control, no?
Well, there are two things we need to do. One is we need to ensure we have economic policies that allow the American economy to be the most competitive in the world, so those better paying jobs are created here instead of somewhere else. And the other is, we are going to focus on eradicating poverty, curing it. We don't cure poverty. We treat the symptoms of poverty. We treat the pain of poverty, but we do not cure poverty in America today with these federal programs. So the goal is to ensure that those funds are being given to those entities at the state and local level that will cure poverty by empowering people to turn their lives around, acquire the skills they need for those better paying jobs that hopefully a dynamic American economy is creating for them.
You know, Paul, let me give you a perfect example.